Welcome back to a new episode of Shoot the Captain. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode where we talk about Outriders and some of the latest changes, where we want the game to be, where it's going, and then all the things that Square-Enix said about developing that franchise. Now, for my Shoot the Captain for this week, I wanted to talk about Halo. Rob, what is your experience with Halo? When did you play it? Where did you come into the franchise?
Halo's my favorite game. No, Halo, that was like the pinnacle of my gaming. Like that was
Right.
like when it came to like a head. So to me, I always have a soft spot for that game. The first time I ever played Halo was this kid from school, from high school. I was a sophomore and he was a senior. And I remember he had an IKEA tattoo and he worked at IKEA.
He had an IKEA tattoo?
He lost a bet or something like that, and then part of the bet was him getting an IKEA tattoo, and he got a really well done IKEA tattoo.
Okay.
But he worked at IKEA, so we just made it was.
That is Destiny and hilarious.
Yeah, it's hilarious. But and we were really young. He was like 17. But he had an Xbox, and he was done with Halo, and it was before Halo 2 came out, so that had to be 2003.
Ooh.
And he lent me his Xbox. I remember he lent me Halo, the first one, and Spider-Man, the movie game, the first movie game.
Right.
And I played it on this borrowed Xbox, in my room that my friend from school that I barely knew gave me or let me use, and I just played it over and over and over and over and over. So that was my experience with the first one, and I have stories like this for every single entry. So,
right.
Except for number 5.
I know for me, again, a similar situation. I didn't have an Xbox. My friend Christian, who is, I'm the godfather to his daughter. We've always been together. We've always been playing Halo for a long, long time. It's kind of one of those games that you grow up with.
Yeah.
Halo. I played Halo at his home. I had a PlayStation. He had an Xbox, and then we just shared games. And Halo was that game where like, oh crap, this is my first co-op shooter, right?
Yeah.
I never played a game with someone else being a wingman or being the second, having an extra gun on a fight.
Right.
And it was crazy how cinematic Halo was, how good the story. I mean, how good the story was for the time. There was nothing like it at the time.
People forget how cutting edge it was at the time.
Exactly.
The graphics and the clarity and the definition of it was pretty up there at the time.
And I know for a lot of people, GoldenEye was like the big multiplayer game.
Yeah.
I never played GoldenEye. I didn't know anyone who had it in 64 who had a GoldenEye, so I never had that experience. But I feel like I had that experience with Halo. Yeah. Halo was the experience where we're playing 4-player split screen, playing Blood Gulch, doing everything you can.
And the LAN parties.
Exactly.
LAN parties when we got into the 360 and me and all my friends had 32-inch HD TVs and Xbox 360s, and we would just set them up throughout the entire house, and each room had a team in it, and just shouting into the other room, talking shit. It was great, man. Like I had a lot of fun with those games.
Right. Again, Halo has a huge legacy developed by Bungie. Bungie left that franchise to make Destiny, which is pretty remarkable if we think about. Bungie made 2 killer franchises that define a generation. There's nothing like Halo during that time. There's nothing like Destiny during our time right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I wanted to speak on Halo because, again, Halo Infinite is set to come out this year, 2021. Hopefully it comes out. Again, we don't know what the status is. It got a lot of negative reception when it was first revealed last year of where the game was at that state. Yeah. They've walked it back. They told, you know what, we need another year. The game is there, but it's not at the polished level that we expect it to be. And again, unfortunately for Xbox, this is their flagship title. PlayStation has Last of Us, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn. They have so many banger after banger after banger. Even though Days Gone didn't sell that well, it's still a banger for them, right? And PlayStation is just firing on all cylinders. And they have a good cadence.
Yeah.
Xbox has been investing in a lot of game studios, right? They have a lot of projects, a lot of pies that are baking. But we're not going to see those for a while, right? There's still going to be years
at least.
But once they start coming out, then that's going to be really amazing to see Xbox Game Pass releasing these games for free.
Yeah.
On Game Pass. We're going to get Halo for free because we're paying on our subscriptions. And this is my main issue of what I think Halo has a problem with, or at least one, there's too high of an expectation for what this means, for Halo to mean for the Xbox brand and for the console itself. Again, Xbox whole success as being a competitor to PlayStation is because of Halo. Halo created that success for them, right? And then Gears, and then other games that they've developed like Forza and things like that have developed the
Over
Xbox
time.
brand. Yeah, over time.
But on the top of the top, I mean, we had Fable for a little bit. We had Mass
which
Effect.
were great. Fable, Mass Effect. Mass Effect went more third party. It's available on multiple platforms.
Oh yeah.
Fable has only been on Xbox, but that has taken a step back. We're not seeing
anything on.
They're making one. We already know that they are making one.
I didn't know that.
But they were trying to do the last Fable game. I think it was called Fable Legends. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was a 4-player versus 1 monster type of game. Back when, do you remember Evolve?
Yeah.
Back when that craze was happening.
Yeah.
But they saw how that craze suddenly just petered out.
Came and went.
So then Fable was pushed back to the drawing board again. So again, it's been a long time since there's been a Fable game in development. They have one now. But like every other game that they bought in, right? Ninja Theory, the people who made out Fallout New Vegas, that company, Raven Software, right?
Yeah.
Bethesda, everything Bethesda has now that they bought them, right? Everything's still on the back burner. But Halo is the game that's going to come out this year. This is supposed to be the pinnacle of the Series X, pinnacle of the new systems to see what this game can do. My shoot the captain that I want to throw out to you, Rob, is Halo just too old? Is it too much of a relic to make it relevant anymore?
I don't know. It might be in a position where it's in between outdated and nostalgic. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where it's not either or yet. And I think that's why you could. I don't think I play Halo because it's cutting edge. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's not why I play Halo anymore. I play.
But it was though for a long time.
It was, but I've seen too much since then.
Right.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Games have changed. The way you play games have changed. One of the biggest contentions in the Halo community is sprint or no sprint. If you put sprint in Halo, is it Halo anymore? Because some people say, no, don't put sprint in it. It doesn't make it like Halo. But I'm like, that's modern gaming. That's...
Well, Doom didn't have a sprint.
No, and Doom did a great job with it.
Yeah, it was like a nice jog.
Right.
A leisurely pace.
But again... But this is the flagship title. How do you get people to buy Xboxes? You want people who are younger to buy an Xbox, not just all the old farts. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not saying that we're all old. I'm not saying that we're all old farts.
We're old farts.
But we've been around, and we know what we like. But again, if Xbox in it to win it, I think they have a killer strategy. Game Pass. Get people to sign up for Game Pass. Make it so attractive that you can't ignore this deal. Buy it on your phone, buy it on a streaming stick for your TV, whatever, right? Get on Game Pass because Xbox is giving you all these games. But again, Halo is the flagship. Gears is actually doing pretty great, but they're
solid.
They're solid, but they're not Last of Us. They're not getting these headlines that they're pushing the medium forward. God of War, when God of War came out, the remake of this new Envision version of God of War, people praised it, and again, I've played it. God of War, the new version of God of War, is freaking amazing. There's almost nothing like it, and again, it reminds me that it pushes the medium, and that's what I mean about Halo. Do you think it's too old? Maybe that idea can't push it anymore.
That's hard for me to answer because I'm so biased. You know what I mean? But it's does it need a reboot? Is it time for a reboot? Is it time to start from scratch? Is it time to explore different characters? Is it time to, maybe there's things in there that they're hanging on to for tradition's sake, maybe leave Master Chief's story alone and move on. Go follow a different Spartan.
We had ODSTs, and that was a great series.
And they hadn't done anything with it.
Anything with it.
Like if they were to make an ODST 2, could you imagine how people like us would respond to that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Where it's a new game.
New people can come into the franchise.
ODST mechanics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The difficulty level of ODST as far as not having all the perks.
The squad-based gameplay.
And integrate that even more so now that you have, modern shoot and looter, shooter looters, or even the battle royale games,
Yeah.
Integrate whatever.
Imagine a bunch of ODSTs dropping on the same map for a battle royale. It already writes itself. You have drop pods.
Yeah, straight
drop 50 people on one map and go at it.
Or even having a objective based things where it's like a level, kind of the way Outriders has it. Yeah. Where you drop in and you run the map, But let's say you drop into the map and you got to get to the other side of the map. You got to kill X amount of, creatures on the way there. You have a tank. You have like a level.
Right.
Like the levels are designed the way.
You can make it a playground where it's kind of like Minecraft. You just build a world and let people play with it.
Yeah, forge.
Forge your own bases. Fight the Covenant.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want. But again, Halo has been reimagined so many ways, and in the past before, it has gone nostalgic. It has gone its own path with Halo 4 and 5, where it went off on its own, and people hated it. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, I always discuss this with my girlfriend, or even with other people. Is there sometimes IP that are so timeless that they withstand the test of time? One being like Lord of the Rings. I don't know any other fantasy series that's bigger than Lord of the Rings, and Lord of the Rings is actually inspiration for a lot of other fantasy series, right? Especially even The Witcher. I mean, Witcher is its own thing, but Lord of the Rings, I've never seen anything bigger than Lord of the Rings. The only thing that has come close to it is Game of Thrones. But even then, that's not high fantasy. That's like a little bit below that,
The Game of Thrones, though, I mean, it was a it hasn't been around as long as Lord of the Rings.
Right.
So Lord of the Rings holding that popularity since the 1930s.
And even before, exactly, with the books and everything.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the books came out in the 30s.
Yeah.
And
then movies, video games, a lot, tabletop strategy games, everything.
The animated movie. From the 70s. Do you remember that one? Have you seen it?
I never seen it.
There's an animated Lord of the Rings movie that's just like the Hobbit and the Fellowship of the Ring kind of, but it's like there's a Hobbit and there's a Lord of the Rings, and it's crazy animation. It looks really good, but it's weird. It's just bizarre.
Amazon making that Lord of the Rings show before Lord of the Rings, like kind of like the prequels.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but again, it shows you Lord of the Rings has that ability where it's almost timeless. Will it be around in the next 30, 40, 50 years? Maybe. I could always see it. That's the problem that I'm having with Halo, though.
Yeah.
Is Halo too old? Again, because if you think about it, it's about a guy, a no-name, silent protagonist.
Yeah.
That was inspired by BMX armor, remember, for the helmet and everything?
Yeah.
And to fight a bunch of aliens, right? Now, eventually those aliens get old, seeing those same models get old, and even younger kids will say, oh, that's my dad's game. Halo is my dad's game. Yeah. How do we get those people on board? Because, again, shouldn't Halo, like games on the PlayStation, be pushing the medium forward? And I kind of feel like that's what Bungie saw in Halo. If Bungie wanted to make Halo and keep going with Halo, they would have. I believe they would have.
Yeah.
But they saw something else. They saw the future in Destiny. And guess what? They were fucking spot on.
Yeah.
Like, you can't deny that their gamble on Destiny wasn't what it paid out to be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they were already thinking of Destiny when ODST was coming out, because they even put the little moon of Destiny in the game was in that ODST game.
They were dropping
and they didn't want to make Halo no more. That's why they gave it, Xbox bought it and gave it to 343 Industries.
Yeah.
343 Studios.
Yeah.
And again, I can't just help but think that Bungie saw that there's just no future for Destiny. There's no future for Halo to push that medium forward.
I think Bungie, it wasn't so much that it was Halo. I think Bungie, what they weren't gonna get on PlayStation if they didn't leave Halo behind.
Right, exactly.
So
multi-platform.
They wanted to get multi-platform. They were looking to make that multi-platform money.
And also, the game that Destiny is, I don't think Halo would have ever become that, even if they tried.
Even if they, like, gently try to push in that, it would have taken 10 games to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so I do see it is the right move, but I don't think it so much had to do with I think they were okay with handing over the torch, because a lot of the people that stayed in 343 Industries started in Bungie.
Lots of people.
You know, so they split the company, essentially. Half of the people stayed on the IP that made them big, you know, and got, you know, supervisor gigs, and you know, when they were, you know, but the guys in charge of 343 were the, you know, they weren't the guys in charge of Bungie,
right,
but they were the guys who you know, I think
were given this torch.
And yeah. So I was totally okay with that.
Yeah.
Up to Halo 4, I was totally okay with that. I did have a problem with Halo 5. I thought it was kind of like, it's just not what I feel like it wasn't what was advertised to me.
Exactly. That was a big problem that Halo 5 was.
That's not why I went to the store. That's not why I downloaded it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And Halo 5 plays amazingly. I love playing multiplayer. Firefights are great. You know, everything that Halo 5 does it really well. I love the how it, see, and this is the thing that even I get trouble with, is that Halo is not iconic, or at least some of the newer stuff isn't iconic.
No.
What is the name of the new enemy faction? Prometheans?
Prometheans, yeah.
Okay. They're not as iconic as the Covenant, right?
Yeah.
People have complaints about where the direction of Halo went after 343 studios took it, which again is a hard ask. You're asking these people to continue Halo without half of the people who made it Halo great.
Do you think that we're going to run into a Star Wars thing like what we talked about a couple episodes ago, where there was our Star Wars, and then there's the kids Star Wars, and now there's the new kids Star Wars. Do you think that that's kind of what is going to be? Because I know people that are about early 20s who 4 and 5 is their Halo. Yeah. You know what I mean? That is that is the.
And to be honest, like 4 was amazing. I love where 4 went. I love the story. They gave Master Chief stuff to do. They gave him dialogue for the first time. He talked so much in 4. Yeah. And you saw that relationship between him and Cortana, back and forth. And that's one again. It gives me another bullet in the chamber about that Halo's too old, that people want the silent protagonist, but I'm like, that's a thing from the early 2000s. Who just stays fucking quiet anymore? Sure, Link still does from his games, but every other game has gotten more and more cinematic with amazing characters. I mean, God of War, Kratos, he was just a crazy guy just doing all these combos, but now he has an entire backstory and a son he has to raise. Like, there's so much character there. Where is that for Halo? But it's, again, I feel like the Halo purists not push the medium backwards, but hold it hostage to the nostalgia of what Halo means. When I feel like Halo could evolve to be something greater.
I think it can evolve. I don't think it's too old. I just think that there's been times where it takes steps in the right direction, and then they step back by the next entry. Right. You know what I mean?
Or like the negative reaction from the fans
influences
the next game, and we've seen plenty of times how that fucks things up later on.
Of course. I mean, like, I don't understand the purpose of Agent Locke. He doesn't.
He could have had a much cooler story.
He could have.
If the game was either advertised in a different way, or told us, you know what, this is a story about Locke.
He could have just had his own game.
Yeah, and then and freaking have Master Chief be the Luke Skywalker. He comes in, fucks shit up, bounces. Yeah. But this is Locke's story. Yeah. Metal Gear Solid 2. Everyone thought it was gonna be Solid Snake. Boom, you're playing as this blonde white boy called Raiden. Yeah. But guess what? That game's amazing. Even if it's not the person you thought it was. Yeah. You know.
When they change protagonists like that.
But again, it pushes that medium. Metal Gear Solid 2 pushed that medium at that time for what it meant to have not only politics in games, but also a cinematic feel. Because Hideo Kojima, big guy who loves movies, he always felt that games could always achieve that level of storytelling and narrative.
And he was doing it early.
Doing it in the PlayStation 2 80s with the MSX system with the original Metal Gear Solid, things like that. I feel like there's just no one there at Bungie that does that. Or
343.
Oh, sorry, 343 that does that. There's no name tied to that game that makes you believe, this is a person who's going to push this forward, like Ken Levine did with BioShock. When you hear these names are tied behind the game,
or Cliff Blazinski
with Gears.
I mean, it was Frank O'Connor, wasn't it, initially? Frank O'Connor, the Irish dude?
I thought he was the composer.
No.
Or was that Michael somebody?
I don't know, man. I think it's Martin something.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I think it's Martin something. But I felt like it was Frank O'Connor, but even then, it's like he's fallen off. I feel like they don't have... So, in Reach, right? Yeah. They take a step in the right direction by, okay, you want a silent protagonist? Here's a silent protagonist, but it's not Chief anymore. So, to me, I think what it's
Noble Six.
It's Noble Six.
And then you have this...
And you are Noble Six. The player is Noble Six.
And you have this roster of great Spartans.
There you go. You don't have... I feel like the times that they've stepped out of the box where they were evolving. Yeah. It was the time Bungie had it last, between 3 and Reach. Yep. That was when it was...
And ODST, if you throw it in there, too.
That's what I'm saying, though. Yeah. 3, ODST, and Reach. You know what I mean? That batch, And even Halo Wars and stuff, even though that wasn't Bungie. But
I still love Halo Wars. I thought it was great. Yeah. Just for what it does to the world. Like, the wars between the Covenant and humans.
For purists, though, I mean, that was the original game was supposed to be like that. Yeah. So it's like, it's nice to... It's like an alternate reality version of what that game was supposed to be initially, because it was designed to be that way. It was supposed to be an RTS in the beginning. So... I could see, like, okay, you being Noble Six, you plug yourself into the silent protagonist. Now you're not a character. that has motives and has a story arc or whatever. It's you, right?
Yeah.
It's a representation of you. But they could have kept going with the character story.
Yeah.
Intertwined him with, you have all these iconic characters that don't interact.
Dr. Halsey.
Dr. Halsey
never interacts with 343 Guilty Spark from the Halo rings. You know, you have so many great characters.
A lot of characters. Johnson, like he's there, then he's gone. It's like there's a lot of great characters, but you don't get to see any chemistry. You don't get to see all these iconic moments.
Buck was a great character, being an ODST awesome. And eventually becoming a Spartan in 5, which I love.
He could have his own game, and I would buy it.
Right, with the freaking Nathan Fillion just voice acting the entire game. Fuck yeah, give me that.
That'd be great. Yeah, and then even Locke, get all the guys that are like secondary. Where the fuck is Keith David and the Arbiter?
Right.
And we saw him for like 5 minutes in Halo 5. But it's like, why not have a game where you can be all of these guys or be your own thing? Why take these steps in the right direction? Just to pull it back.
Right.
You know what I mean? What if there were something like Destiny where you could be? It's almost like an open world MMO type of thing,
a sprawling narrative.
Yeah, with a sprawling narrative where you could create a squad of elites, ODSTs, and Spartans, and however you want, and each one has a distinct play style. You know what I mean? And then you go. There's your classes: elite, right. Spartan, and ODST.
And I feel like Destiny's kind of doing that right now. They're setting the seeds that some of the alien factions you've been fighting this entire time could become playable because they're starting to bring them into the fold. Like, hey. You thought these guys were evil? No, you just misunderstood what their motives were.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? They slowly... But see, that takes about a year or two, but they're planting the seeds early. So when the payoff comes, you saw it coming.
That's great.
But where is that for Halo, though? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it happened with Arbiter, as far as like how Arbiter was an enemy, and then but not in that way.
And the Prometheans, that story, Cortana going... I
still don't know what the fuck they are.
They're the ones who made the rings, Halos.
No, the Prometheans are.
Yeah.
They're not. No, those were the Forerunners. The
Prometheans
were people that were caught and
enslaved. Weren't it the Guardians for the Forerunners?
I believe so, but I want to say that they were
because they're the ones that have all the Guardians, all those giant mechs and stuff.
The fact that we're even.
Yeah, we don't even know.
Yeah.
And the fact that Cortana's going rampant. How does that play into the story? Mm-hmm. She's being set up as a great villain, but again, like. It's not that it comes out of nowhere. We see the seeds of it in 4.
In 3,
but
too.
It's too much of a... Exactly, in 3. Because in 3, she mentions that eventually AIs go rampant.
Yeah.
And we see that. But again, there's... The way that 5 played out... If you're going to do that, why isn't Chief at the center of this? This is his story. Mm-hmm. Right?
Why are we thrown into this character that we've never given a fuck before about?
Now, if 5 was... Okay, look what Cortana did... From the eyes of Locke, and then 6 was like Master Chief has to do something about it, right? That would have been cool. But again, we're talking about it's if, ands, and buts of what could have, should have, Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, like it's Halo, and
at the points where they missed their mark, I'm sorry for interrupting.
No,
but at the points where they missed their mark, they didn't miss it by much,
right?
But when they missed it, it was a detriment to the overall story. I think that great franchises though have a dip in popularity. You don't just have these franchises that are always good all the time.
No,
you know what I mean? You have to see a dip in popularity, and we haven't seen that in Halo till recently. You know what I mean? This is the first real dip in popularity that game has experienced.
5 really left like a sour taste in the mouth, but even some people will argue that 4 was very...
4 too.
Was very like, eh.
What I mean is like...
But it wasn't good.
So
it was good.
So when I'm talking about when you get to Reach, right?
Yeah.
So by the time Reach comes around, we have 1, 2, 3 ODST,
and then
Reach and the 2 Wars.
Right.
So that's 8 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
8 games that were all solid. 8 games that everyone loved. 8 games that were, they were. I don't want to say firing on all cylinders, but it was a cultural thing by the time Halo 3 and Reach came out.
There were moments in history for the gaming community.
Yeah. I remember going to pick mine up at midnight at GameStop, and there was a warthog outside, and a bunch of guys dressed as it was like an event. You know what I mean? There was a bunch of Spartans walking around with awesome props and cosplay, and I'm like, dude, I'm next to a Walmart. And I'm only gonna be here for 10 minutes. You know what I mean? This is fucking dope.
Sweet summer child! You didn't even know what COVID was back then.
Yeah, right? Dude, they used to have pizza. They would order pizza at the GameStop, and if you were waiting for your game, have a slice of pizza. And
Yes, I remember getting pizza waiting for ODST.
Like, man, that's great. That was great. So it was definitely a cultural thing at the moment for gaming, you know.
And PlayStation has that right now. When Last of Us came out, that's an event. Ghost of Tsushima, that was, you know what I'm saying? Like, these
Ghost of Tsushima, yeah, that's definitely on my list.
These are games that even if you're not a PlayStation fan, you hear the fucking ripples that these games cause.
Yeah.
It makes you want to get a PlayStation.
Even Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, and that showed you Spider-Man how amazing that game is.
Yeah.
Nothing like that on Xbox.
Nope.
You know?
Not yet. Not at this moment.
No, I'm very hopeful and very. I'll be honest with you. The way that Microsoft has been handling this, they're just setting up a lot of groundwork that will pay off.
It's like they're loading the bases.
Exactly, and they have 13 different studios, great studios that have made amazing games. Yeah. I'm excited that once they start coming out with the games that they've made, it's gonna be a cool little trickle of awesome game after awesome game, free of charge because you're paying for Game Pass. Yeah, you don't have to put that $70 down for every single title like how on PlayStation you do. Because imagine if you bought every PlayStation title, every big PlayStation title that came out that year. Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us, and I want to say a third one, right?
Among Us.
No, Among Us was something else.
No, not Among Us. You just said it earlier.
Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon Zero Dawn.
No, not that one.
Well, either way, let's just say there's 2 or 3 big games that come out that year, right?
Yeah.
That's what 220 240. Man, we're really bad at math.
About 210 for 3.
But either way, that's a lot of money to spend on one luxury item of playing the game. Yeah. But again, quality titles, Xbox is gonna have that, but through Game Pass, you're not gonna be spending that money because you're only paying $15 a month.
$15 a month.
Yeah,
but they get you all year.
It gets you all year, and then there's always something coming out every month that you might play. Like I remember. Man-Eater's coming out this month, which I'm super excited. You should play it. The Shark game.
Yeah.
Like you've heard of it.
Yeah.
And you're gonna get it through Game Pass, and we're gonna fucking play it. Just have fun.
Play fucking when the Goose Game was on it. I love the Goose Game.
Exactly.
That game was awesome.
But again, it goes back to Halo being. If Halo is this flagship title that defines Xbox, that defines this generation, or is gonna define this generation. It has so much going against it because the expectations are really high, and I just don't think even if it's a good game, that's not enough.
I don't know if that's true. I think that I don't know if I agree. Okay. Like it does have things going against it, right? As the last entry, right? But I think it's the way I would characterize it would be more like. This game's gonna decide how the next couple of years are gonna go for Halo.
Right.
You know what I mean? If the game performs well, then we're gonna see good stuff. If the game doesn't perform well, I think we're gonna see a lull, and then they're gonna start banking on nostalgia, like heavily banking on nostalgia,
or whatever the other studios are working on. You know,
that's true. But
Gears has been consistently good.
Away.
No,
3 is not going away. Like they're not gonna stop making Halo, but they might take a break, go back to the drawing board, and redevelop.
What if they give 343 the go ahead to make their own shit? Make your own world. Go for it.
That'd be great.
Reimagine Halo how you want it.
I mean, and then the thing is that why couldn't they just let 343 make their own Halo title, like an original IP, like not an original IP, but kind of like that, existing in the Halo world, something happening out, that's happening somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Planet Onyx. What happened to those? What happened to those Spartans?
Working as a soft sequel to Reach,
or a soft reboot.
Ghost of Onyx.
Yeah.
As kind of like a new Reach, but everything we loved about Reach, but have it be 343's version of Reach. By making the Ghost of Onyx game like that.
But it comes to that point. They're chasing greatness rather than making greatness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're banking on the people that love the game are busy, working and paying bills now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Younger people are playing Fortnite and PUBG.
And Master Chief came out in Fortnite because guess what? Your dad who's playing Fortnite with you is gonna buy that skin. Like, oh, I remember Halo.
Yep.
This is the game that I used to play when I was a kid. Or and they want to share that with their kids. But again, what? Let's say they're playing Fortnite, right? Wouldn't it be great if there was an amazing Halo game? Like, hey son or hey daughter, whatever, right? Halo just came out. Do you want to play that with me? Remember the guy I showed you in that Fortnite skin? Let's play that game.
Yeah.
But again, I just
But kids are addicted to Fortnite the way people are addicted to
crack.
slot machines, man. It's like a gambling addiction thing. They got that reward center thing down. You know what I mean?
They really do,
They
which is
really
scary. But
yeah.
they
Kids
got it.
fiend for that shit,
Yeah.
man. I know some kids that are like mainline fucking Fortnite, man. They're like, they want it right away.
Again, props to Epic Games for doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But still, again,
They're just doing their job.
of course, but that's what I want for Halo, because I love Halo. I want Halo to return to form, but that's the problem. What does return to form mean? Because that means
It means
a different
being
thing.
less like Halo.
Less like Halo, but it could mean
step outside of that form.
Right.
They're not going to develop if they don't.
And some people don't want it. Don't want it to step out of that form. They want the nostalgia of what they remember Halo being.
How would you feel about having, like, I feel like having one Halo game coming out every 4 or 5 years or 3 years or whatever the schedule they're on right now, that the Halo fan base is diverse enough to where, like, they could have an ODST franchise.
Right.
They can have a book franchise where they're pulling from the books and making games for book fans, like Reach was, like we're saying the Onyx, you know, and then just go through the books and start pulling out things from there. They can also have the classic Master Chief, you know, story, blah, blah, blah. They could have the one where you're the Spartan. They can have Halo War still. Like, they should have multiple franchises.
I feel like Halo, in order to evolve...
With different studios, of course.
Right. I feel like Halo, in order for it to evolve, it has to do the Gears of War, Force Awakens thing. Let's start handing it off to another set of characters.
I agree.
And because... Remember, one of the biggest statistics that came out, at least around Gears of War 3 and 2, is that something that you almost never hear, half of the player base that plays Gears is women. A lot of women play Gears. And again, looking at that game, you wouldn't think of it.
You wouldn't expect it.
But guess what? Kate is now the main character of Gears of War 5. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. That makes sense now based on everything that they've built upon. And Gears of War, while it's not reinventing the wheel or not pushing the medium forward, it's consistent. It's been consistently good.
Yeah.
If you're into multiplayer, if you're into any of the new modes, Horde mode, that new mode Escalation, or even just the story, if you're a fan of the story, you're always going to be playing Gears. But it consistently does well enough to keep going, right?
That's true, and not only that, the mechanics are always polished. They don't try to reinvent the wheel,
but they make sure that they add improvements every time they can, whenever there's new hardware available,
wherever necessary.
Even right now with Gears of War just released their newest expansion, Hive Busters. Dude, it's amazing how it looks on Series X. They're really taking that technology and pushing it as far as they can. And that's that we're using Unreal Engine 4. They already announced, I think about 3 weeks ago, that they're going to start developing Gears in Unreal Engine 5, which is the new development tools that are coming out for this generation. Exactly. Yeah. And that's going to look even better, right?
Wow.
But again, I feel like Gears is like the underrated dog, right? Or not, the underdog at the moment. Because Gears used to be a big thing, but they never dipped in the same way that Halo has. Yeah. They've been consistently good.
They never hit the highs.
Exactly.
Halo hit either.
I feel like the highest was Gears 3. Like, I feel that was their main peak.
I'm with you on that.
And they dipped a little bit, but not like, they didn't go 4 or 5 Halo.
I think
you know what I'm saying?
4 dipped dramatically. And then 5 brought them back up.
I
think 4 was a slow burn. I don't think that people were playing it like crazy when it came out. You know, I didn't hear a lot of people talking about it and stuff like that. I heard years later when people had a chance to play it. You know what I mean? Before 5 was coming out.
Right.
That's when I started hearing people talk about how great 4 was. And that's when I went back to play 4.
I played 4 when it came out. It was great. I loved it. I loved where the story was going. I loved 5 even more. Finished that story.
They even had their own Prometheans too, with like the robots and stuff like that. Them bringing like they had to change
the CTs, I think they're called.
Yeah.
Or something, BTs.
I don't remember exactly.
But anyways, they had their new enemy faction, right?
Yeah.
And again, they've developed and polished them over the years, and makes them, they don't feel out of place anymore. They feel like part of the canon now.
Yeah.
But again, where do you feel like Halo can even hit that moment where it's just competent and can make even if it's just for a month or two, make a splash where people are like, oh yeah, there's a new Halo, let's play.
Maybe what they need is a flop, you know?
Which was 5, right?
No, not numbers wise. A flop has to be, you know, it's got to fail financially. You know what I mean? I don't think 5 did. I think a lot of people bought 5.
Oh yeah, I know I did.
I did too. And I think what they need is they need a finished Chief story. I think here, like if I were running 3-4-3, right? If you don't indulge me for a minute.
What's it called? Back chair quarterback.
Yeah. Backseat driving over here, but armchair quarterback.
Yeah.
If I were doing that, right? First of all, finish the story between Chief and Cortana. Give them a satisfying ending.
Start something else.
And if you'd like, leave it open for them to come back in, drop in here and there. You play a game as a different character. You have to go see Chief, and you have to fight Chief to get him to talk, to move the story along, blah, 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 blah. Sure, fine, whatever. Easter eggs for fans, I'm fine with that, right? But move the story along, use different characters as your protagonist, or use the player as the protagonist. You can't give that to somebody in a franchise and then take it away.
Right.
That level of player customization, or plugging the player in as after playing as Noble 6, who gives a fuck about any other fucking Spartan? You know what I mean? Like, you want to play, you know what I mean? You want to play that guy. So I don't know. I think they have like a list of things. Satisfy their Cortana ending, figure out what they're doing with the Forerunners, and then move on. Right. Show us other battles. Like I said, if they take a track going through the books, a la Reach, you know, and going down that route, follow ODST. You know, do an ODST thing. You know, even with new characters, old characters, whatever. Maybe the rookie is now the commander. Blah blah blah. Who cares? Then keep the Halo Wars. Do something with Halo Wars. If it's not selling, it's not selling. Whatever. But if there's fans of that game, I never got into them. But if there's fans of
I got into them. But just for the story mostly.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if there's fans of that game, then please pay attention to those fans too.
Yeah.
I don't think they understand how diverse their fan base is, and I think they're trying to cater to a vocal group of fans that maybe isn't the entire population.
Of course, which again happens in almost any fandom.
And it's always a mistake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's never a good idea to pay attention to the only vocal people about it when everybody else is like, hey man, what the fuck? We're the ones buying the fucking game.
And I think a part of the problem is, again, being Halo, being that legacy, being 343, I don't think they ever since they've made that story, I don't think they've had both, hands on the wheel. I think one has Microsoft, the other hand
absolutely
is the studio. Like the execs are saying, no, we need Halo to be this, and they're like, no, we want it to be this.
Yeah. That's so counterproductive.
Right. Do you want to hear my story? Or
sure.
What I would think?
Yeah.
I would like a Halo. Finish the story like you said. Make a really gritty tale of this guy who lives on a colony, on a planet somewhere, and how the Covenant just fuck shit up, destroy their world, glass their world. Remember when they would burn the worlds down?
Yeah.
Show them being corralled. Show them being the Covenant, being the brutality of that war from a citizen's level of what they're seeing.
Yeah.
And this kid or this character, someone who's of age, right, sees this. Once they stumbles upon a research facility that no one knew was there, and it was hiding like a piece of Spartan armor, and slowly he's getting the colonists in every village to rise up against the Covenant as he gets more pieces of armor, finds new locations, you know what I'm saying, and lead a revolt against the Covenant and be like, you know what, there's a Spartan here, and this planet is protected by this Spartan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And give it a new reimagining of what it means to be a Spartan, because again. Spartans it's just a space marine, right? It's just a space marine that's always been around in fiction and science fiction for a long time.
Yeah.
Super soldier, right? But give it that human aspect of it that we sometimes lack from Master Chief. Because again, he was made from a time where silent protagonist was not the rage, but that was just what people did.
It was the norm.
It was the norm.
Yeah.
But I feel now, no, you have to develop a character. You have to show growth and emotion. And I think if you did something like that where you show someone new to be able to carry the franchise, make them into a Spartan and show how amazing it was to be a Spartan, to defend your home planet from the people who are trying to destroy it.
Just a massive triumph, and then that feeling of accomplishment will get people coming back for more.
Right.
For more.
And develop the story from there. Like how did this Spartan grew to join the rest of the Legion? Were they cut off? Was this planet cut off from the UNSC? And because of his triumph and because of him turning the war against the Covenant, they were able to get a signal out, right, and get support.
Yeah. That's great.
I wanted to go back to its not the roots, because even the first Halo wasn't that way. It told a grand story right from the get go. But when you think about Halo 1, you're just a guy.
Yeah.
Who just landed on this planet, and the possibilities were endless at that point, right?
Yeah.
But there's so much expectation now. I think we need to go back small and grow it larger.
And grow again.
Yeah.
Yeah, the spectacle is almost at the point where like the Guardians in 5 were like they were like the game was named after the Guardians.
Yeah.
And you never fought
giant,
one.
huge mechs.
And you never fight it.
Yeah.
Well, you just have to make sure they get released or don't get released or
right.
whatever the fuck happens.
Don't open the Ark of the Covenant.
Exactly. And it wasn't like it wasn't satisfying. You didn't finish playing that game going, that was good. You know, the way like Red Dead felt or even every other Halo game.
Last of Us, God of War, a lot of games where it has a huge narrative payoff at the end of it.
Yeah, they pulled a Halo 2, so it's not a new thing where they left you kind of like wanting more.
But they blue balls me.
It was definitely that, you know. But and then it looks like in Infinite they're just going in a totally new direction and abandoning a lot of the threads from 5. If that's the case, then there's a problem. You know what I mean? Unless the new threads that they're doing, they abandon those threads, and the new threads are it's worth it because it's gratifying and because it's like, okay, that was a satisfying playthrough. You know what I mean?
Right.
As far as it being old, I don't think so.
I don't think so
because we're
either.
still playing Mario.
I just want to make sure that legacy does live on, but changes need to be made to be able to support that.
It's absolutely necessary at this point. Because it is losing steam, you know?
Just like you said, Mario reinvents itself. It doesn't stay the same. It'll do 2D, 3D, whatever crazy idea they have.
RPG paper.
As long as it's fun, they're going to do it. Because they don't care. They want to always be pushing the medium. Mario Odyssey, I have it on the Switch. I was showing your nephew, Gio, that he loved that game. Imagine I got him to... I started with Mario with Super Mario World. He started Mario with Super Mario Odyssey. We both love the same character, and we both got into the same character at different times in our lives, different generations, and different periods in time, right?
Yeah.
That's what I would want for a Halo, for a God of War, right? Like any of these franchises where like there's a greatness here. I want to share that with you, or let's pass that on to another generation. So I want to see what they make in the future once they're in charge of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is any fandom, right? Like every fandom wants to go as far as it can, right?
They just need to stumble. I think they just need to be, you know, even if 5 was the case, right? If they didn't correct their mistakes from 5, then they need to fall hard. But
the problem is, if you fall too hard, then it's over.
But they won't, because even if they fall very hard, if they don't sell a single copy of the next game, right? It was such a giant. You know what I mean? Like, they made so much fucking money off of those games that they're gonna try again, but they're gonna go back to the drawing board. It's like a failed movie. You know what I mean? Like if you have an if you have an IP that's made $1 billion, like they've made enough Spider-Man movies to know that they're always gonna make $1 billion each one. You know, there's always gonna come close, right? So now Spider-Man, like the Batman movies were in the 90s, they're always going to have a Spider-Man movie as long as it's making money.
Definitely.
If it stops making money, or if it takes a dip in making money, not even poor quality is going to stop them from making them.
Yeah.
But if they stop making money, then they're going to stop, you know, doing it. But they're not going to not try. You know what I mean?
Right.
So even if they don't sell anything, they're going to try again. If that doesn't make any money, then they're going to probably...
Which, again, that's Hollywood mentality, right? Like, hey, maybe this didn't work at this time. Corporate mentality. Yeah. Hey, when was the last time we made a Total Recall? There's fans of that. Let's just make another one. See if it sticks.
Let's make a new Judge Dredd or something like that.
See if it sticks. Which I love that new Judge Dredd. I'm sad that Carl Urban never got a sequel to those movies.
Yet.
Now he's big enough where I think he
can make it himself.
Yeah. Or even get a small series behind it. I would love it.
Yeah, that would be great.
But anyways, that was our topic for Shoot the Captain. What do you think Halo is? Do you think Halo needs to really reinvent itself? Go back to nostalgia, go back to its root? What do you think it needs to make sure that Xbox is put on the map? Does it have to push the medium, or is being a good game good enough?
Or does it need to go away for a while? Maybe that's what it needs.
Like
to go away. Just to go away for 5 years and nothing for 5 years. Just don't give a shit for 5 years. I mean, that's what happened.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, maybe they need to like literally just not have anything in the docket.
Yeah.
Just go blank. You know what I mean? And then develop something a little further on down the line. You know?
Because otherwise you have a Mass Effect Andromeda situation where you just came off of this great pack of trilogy, this amazing trilogy, only to fuck it up with Andromeda and be silent for 7-8 years.
Yeah.
You know, and now they're finally making hints of a new Mass Effect.
Yeah.
But again, that hurt the brand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, if Mass Effect can recover from it, then Halo will recover from it because it's just a bigger game,
right?
You know, and it's a bigger property.
It's an established IP, like a game like Anthem, where it was not established, it was new. Yeah. It had all the chance to make a good impression, but it wasn't Outriders. It didn't take off. It just straight up just died on the vine.
That sucks.
Yeah, and it always sucks because when you hear the stories behind why it failed, it makes you really angry because it's that corporate struggle of art and business, and the business was what killed it. The business side killed it,
which is almost always the case. It's I mean, there are times where people get a little too much freedom and they don't.
Ken Levine with BioShock Infinite, he had to redo the game twice,
really,
and would yell at people because they weren't executing on his vision. Like, again, like you said, sometimes there's genius, but that can also have its negatives as well.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know it was.
Oh, there's this new book that there's this new book that Press Reset by Jason Schreier, again one of the people who does investigative work, and they talk about that whole what had happened with BioShock. And his first book, Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, talked about what happened with Andromeda and that whole shit show behind it, where like the game didn't get made until the last 6 months because for 5 years or 4 years they were just dicking around with ideas. Ooh. And just pre-production for a lot of stuff, and then hey, we only have a year left. We haven't made anything.
Oh my god!
You know, like there's all these stories. Maybe we'll talk about it in the podcast next time. I'll go ahead and do like a quick summary of what had happened.
That sounds great. And then going into the Mass Effect story, and then what was the game you just mentioned?
BioShock.
BioShock.
Yeah,
that I want to hear about that too, man. There's our next Shoot the Captain right there.
Right there.
BioShock and Mass Effect.
All right. Well, let us know in the comments below. You guys have a great rest of your day.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. Thanks.